if you have one of these and the ends of your hammock cocoon are open and you wish they weren't, this is how to fit it. And welcome to Beck's Bug Out Survivor. So we're back to the Snug Pack hammock cocoon, and as there are no fitting instructions to this on the website, or indeed really by anyone, but I want to show you something, maybe something a little different you might be interested in. Now there's going to be another part to this of how we're actually going to lie in the hammock, which will be slightly different to other things you've seen on YouTube or are aware of, because this won't be a diagonal lay. If you want a diagonal lay, get yourself a hammock underquilt, and there are budget underquilts that I have reviewed on this channel. You can go and watch them, but I will teach you how to lie in your hammock straight down the middle of the hammock and yet still be flat. There's a technique to it. I have my hammock with the carabiners already on and a brand new Snug Pack hammock cocoon. Now I've had one of these about 8-9 years ago, and I sold it because I didn't understand it, because it's 2 kilos, but it's a summer bag, good around 14 degrees C, and then after that you're going to want further insulation. Now that will be a different video of how we're going to pair this up, but in today's episode you want to know how to fit it. First of all, you're going to need daisy chain loops. These go around a tree, one on each tree, and this is vital for this bit of kit. Okay, now I'm going to set this hammock up very different to how you would say a diagonal lay. So hammock which has got the beaners onto the daisy chains, series of loops all the way down here, and I just choose one and click my hammock into one of them loops. And like I said in the intro, we're not going to set this up in the diagonal lay. There is a technique to doing this, but that is going to have to be a different video, because a lot of people believe you can only sleep in the hammock diagonally to be flat, and that's not true. That is not true at all. So I'm going to set my hammock out and come to the underquilt. We've got 2 kilos here, albeit 50 grams, and that is as small as I can make it. If you want to know the measurements and weights, there is a different video. Now this is just a big sleeping bag that goes around your hammock and yourself, so it provides an under insulation and a top insulation. The insulation, however, is about as thin as, say, a jungle sleeping bag, so you may want to add to it, which will be yet another video, because we're going to break this into stages. There's a lot to talk about with this. The biggest thing I can see wrong with these is how they're designed at the end here. They're designed with a couple of elastics and nobody knows how to fit them. Everyone just puts them straight to the carabiner. Anywho, mine's undone. I'm going to undo the hammock and put one section through here. There is a head and a foot end. Disconnect, put it through, back in. I'm just going to do it on one side for now and then the other. disconnect, bring the hammock through, reconnect. To be quite honest, this is something I would only do the once and then good to go. This is as quick as it needs to be. It's raining, and although it's weather resistant, the cameras aren't. This will have a baffle running along the zip. Now if you stand facing the baffle, you will always know that the head end is down here on my right here, but that is quick and easy. Now mine is already sealed at the ends here, but nowhere on YouTube have I seen anyone else close these ends up or even know how to. That is what this video is about. If you have one of these and the ends of your hammock cocoon are open and you wish they weren't, this is how to fit it. Now it's on. There are two sets of elastic like this, one on the left, one on the right, and you've got to tie these in. I've seen too many people tie these in to the actual carabiner here of the hammock, but look what happens. This big open gap, this is where all the cold is coming in, not to mention all your heat is escaping, and you build that body heat up over many hours. This is wasted hours having a big gap. You want to close it down like this if you can. Totally sealed off, and I'll show you how we're going to do this. Two options. I'm going to show you option one and then just how I do it. First of all, with these lines here, we don't want to be tying it to the beaner. Instead, we want to hook in one of these daisy loops. So I'm going to get one elastic from the left and one elastic from the right, and come in to one of the daisy loops. Choose whichever one you want. Tie that in. Just an overhand knot, shoelace bow. Nothing that's too tricky to undo. That leaves the other two. One here on the left, one here on the right, and what I could do is wrap these all the way around the end, sealing it up. So this open gap here is going to be sealed up. So one from the left, one from the right, bring them round, overhand knot. That'll do. I didn't even bow it, but look, it's all closed up. There is no gap. Now that is one way of doing it. The other way is a little different. So let's undo this. Good opportunity to show how easy it is to undo. Undo it from daisy, undo the knot here, and we're back to having the gap again, and it can be removed. What I'm going to do is take off one of these elastics it comes with. But I'm going to take one of mine off. I'll do this side closest to the camera. Take the other side off. Now I've got them off, this is a different approach. On the hammock cocoon are two pieces of webbing. I'm only going to use one of the elastics it comes with. So I'll put one in my pocket. There you have it. And double it over. And thread one through one side, one through the other webbing here. Bring that back into a lark's head hitch. This really helps seal things up. Bring the two tails through. And just tie an overhand knot in the elastic. And I also have a very small carabiner. Now I clip this into one of the daisy chain loops, maybe 3 or 4 up, so it can still stretch back and it springs back as well, so nothing is going to tear or under any tension. The gap here, I just tuck in. This former gap here where I can get my fist in and pull it apart and tuck it up, bring it up above these lines here. Now the hammock is resting on this material that used to be a gap, and as you can see I can pull back the hammock cocoon, and when I let it go it does cover everything up. I can pull it back, it's not going to rip anywhere. This open bit here, spread it apart, tuck it up. If you don't believe me, just watch one of my night camp videos when it was set up like this. Okay, nice setup. The gap is now closed. The hammock is actually resting on all that loose material that used to form a gap underneath here. Let me go in, we'll have a look, and then that's this video done. Remember guys, you are not going to be lying in this in the diagonal lay. Okay, there we are. I'm going to zip it up. There's a small gap here where my hand is. That'll let in either cold or ventilate, depending on what you want it to do. You can always shove a sock there. So I took this out in exactly this configuration and had one of the best night's sleep I have ever had. And yet it was 6 degrees that night, and this is only good for 14, so you are going to have to add to it with a pad and a sleeping bag or a quilt or a blanket, but definitely a pad as well in those colder months. So instead of all that, I priced up how much it would be for a decent sleeping bag and a pad that I already have. But had I have priced them up and compared it to a second one of these, you'll be surprised it worked out a lot better having 2 pods or 2 cocoons. I never separate the hammock from the insulation. To me it doesn't make much sense. It's a bit like separating your knife, fork and spoon. But if you were to try and put this away in the stuff sack it comes with, you can have the hammock in there as well. There is room, I've tried. So the lessons we're going to take from this is we do not connect into the carabiner, instead into the daisy chain loops higher up. Play about with what works for you. You'll still have plenty of stretch, nothing's going to tear. Then remove the lines that it comes with, the elastics. You only need one of them, and fit them through both webbings in the lark's head hitch. A knot at that end with a carabiner which is stretched, not to the end of the hammock, but about maybe 3-4 loops up. And that open void like that was tucked in upwards like that, and under its own pressure keeps it together all night, and it does. So I took out 2 of these in one go, and boy, I loved it. Warm. So these weren't gifted to me by the company or anything, I actually bought 2. And I do think they're a little bargain at 70 quid each. So at 140 quid, you can winterize your hammock cocoon set. Mine's been loose filled into a canoeing dry sack, and that takes up around 45 litres. So if you get a 60 litre pack like this, you have room, if you just have one, for a sleeping pad and a summer sleeping bag, maybe a 𝑭𝑰𝑻𝑻𝑰𝑵, something like that. But as you can see, everything in here fits pretty nice. Now remember, no diagonal lay. If you want a diagonal lay, get yourself a budget underquilt. And if you want to see budget underquilts being reviewed, that too is on the channel. But I seriously wouldn't recommend a budget underquilt. If you've already saved up, say 60 quid for a budget underquilt, keep on saving and get yourself maybe a down underquilt such as duck feathers, goose feathers. It's going to be a lot warmer, but they are hundreds and hundreds of pounds, especially if you're importing from the US into the UK. So I weighed up my AirPad and Jungle sleeping bag both in volume, cost and weight. If you do want 2 of these, I really recommend it, because you can get this onto the ground with a pad in, and you are good for some seriously cold weather with 2 of these. 140 quid is about the same price as one of their sleeping bags from Snugpak. Think about it. And when we come back, I'll be showing you how to lay perfectly flat without going diagonally. There's a technique to that you'll need to know to do this. On another video, I will show you 2 hammock pods or hammock cocoons being used at the same time to winterize it easily now, I know, down to 0. Below 0, we could even do that as well with another technique. Take care of yourself, and I will see you out there. Happy trails.